This is the Guigo and Nico show, starring Guigo, me, and Nico over there on the other side of this table. So yeah, this is our first episode. We're coming in and just letting you guys know what we think about things, and that's pretty much it. I don't. Are we doing anything else, Nico?
We're not really the intellectual types, you know.
No, we're really dumb.
Yeah,
actually,
we're pretty stupid, you know.
Very stupid.
Okay.
We're also very narcissistic. That's
okay.
okay.
Stop scaring the people, okay?
all right.
Okay, so we're gonna be talking about Isle of Dogs. Okay, this movie's taken a lot of heat lately for some cultural appropriation
Yes.
thoughts, and we're gonna tell you why we saw the movie. I personally love dogs. I'm a big fan of dogs, and we have a dog right next to us at this moment.
Yes.
His name is Timba. He's
Mr. Timba.
He's quite fat.
He also goes by Team. And
He goes
the
by many
Tube.
names. The Tube, yes.
I guess some people call him Burrito.
Yes, he has been called a burrito before. Yes.
He's not that fat though.
He is not that fat.
No, but
He's a perfectly healthy weight, actually.
yeah, but
In fact,
we like to make fun of him.
I think everybody has their own dog, though, and you see him every day, and sometimes you're like, man, this dog's kind of fat.
What do we say he is? He's
American-
sarcastic. What? He's snarky.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
snarky.
Yeah, snark. So he's an American Indian dog. If anybody knows what that is, you can look it up. It's Oregon. We got it from Oregon.
Oregon.
We got it. We got the dog.
We
from
got
Oregon.
this thing,
We got this thing right over here. Yeah, we got the dog from Oregon,
and it's a dying breed.
no, it's not a dying breed. It's so like I'll give a little backstory. I mean, as far as I know, it was kind of like it was a kind of like a mixed breed that like a lot of American Indians at the time, Native Americans, they had these dogs, and of course they didn't like breed these dogs to be like specific like pristine breeds, and then they kind of interbreeded and they make some very strong breed. Like, as many people know, mutts are probably more resistant to diseases and genetic illnesses because of the immense amount of genetic components that go into their body. And his grandfather, in fact, came from Brazil.
Great daddy.
So yeah, that's and it was a stockier kind of dog, so he's kind of like smaller and more stocky than the other breeds. But yeah, he's still a fantastic dog. Fantastic.
He's looking
breed.
at us like he knows we're talking about him.
He does. He's like, what?
Like, what am I in trouble? No,
What
Timba,
are you
you're
doing to
fine.
me?
Go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, didn't they? I read they used to use them for warmth and for work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then if like in a very bad situation, like
They would eat them.
but people eat people in bad situations, so it's not like that much of a surprise.
Would you?
No, not you. Gosh,
Wow. Not.
I would get diabetes.
Wow.
It's so sugary, man. This man eats chocolate like every 5 seconds.
Wow. First of all, you say that's it's a problem. Like there's,
yeah.
it's like a flaw. That's not a flaw. That's
It
just
is a flaw.
that just makes sense.
No, you know
No,
what?
that doesn't make
It's
any
not
sense.
it's not a
People
big deal.
don't take health advice from me unless it's something that makes a little sense or that I can explain.
So,
But
yeah,
they would
yeah.
eat dogs and but use them at warmth. I've used Timba for warmth before.
Yeah, so yeah, we love our dogs. So when I saw a movie about dogs, I'm like, yeah, I gotta see that. I mean, it had some good actors voicing the characters, and I was like, oh, that looks like a cool movie.
Johansson, Jeff Goldblum is in it. Bill Murray.
Yeah, I think it was very well done too. So yeah, that's why we saw the movie in the first place. We didn't see it. Saw it like about 2 weeks ago, I think.
Yeah. Soon it would be after it came out, right?
Yeah, very soon after it came out. So, yeah, so it was like set in like kind of like an island off of Japan, kind of like a trash island, that they outlawed. Oh yeah, spoiler alert! There's gonna be some spoilers in this, so tell people if you don't want to hear them. But
Spoils.
so yeah, and then the dogs get banned because they have some disease and they're overpopulated and there's some corruption in the background. But people are taking heed to the fact that it was set in Japan, but like there was no real like need at Japan. It was kind of like, I guess people think that it's offensive almost that they use Japan only as like a backdrop, as like it's just a not even that serious component. But I read that the Japanese was all done by Japanese speakers, and it was all very, I mean, it was sometimes gibberish, and it was like not exactly kept in a way that people could understand it, because you're really not supposed to care about the Japanese. The Japanese is just there as like a
Backdrop. Like,
I would say it was kind of like meant to. I mean, I think it's designed for American audiences for the most of the movie, of course, it's in English and well, not American audiences, English speaking audiences.
well, that could be their problem then, right? Because they're saying Japan is being used as a backdrop. So what you're explaining is that the movie was made in Japan, like it was made with Japan as a setting, but it was an American film.
Yeah, but I think this like the whole idea of cultural appropriation, in my opinion, is kind of a weird idea. I mean, the idea you can. I mean, I remember reading the story of like this group of white people, white family in the South. They made a Nashville fried chicken kind of joint, and that's like more of a traditionally spiced for like African Americans. So people like, well, that's our thing, and it's like that's cultural appropriation. I'm like, but they grew up in that area. That's the chicken they liked. I mean, it's almost like what's the point of having calling America a melting pot if we're not supposed to even share our cultures? I mean, people act like white people culture, but I mean, like, there are I mean, do people act like they do in Russia and America? Do they do the same things as Poland, Lithuania, Romania? There's a lot of white people, but white people are a very large population, just as all other races have like massive. In Africa, the different countries have massive.
There's difference between African American and African in terms of culture, and also within African Americans, all sorts. You're gonna different cultures, even within just people. African Americans, Southern, there's going to be different than the people up north in Chicago, different than people in New York, and also the interactions of the cultures that get brought into those places. So, an African American culture interacting with an Irish culture, say in New York, is going to develop a culture between those two, which is unique in itself. Yeah. That's what I gotta
say. Yeah, because I also know, like, I believe it's Somalia and Ethiopia. Their cuisine, they have a certain kind of like crepe-ish pancake. I don't want to call it crepe or pancake. I don't want to be like crepe. It's not real. It's like their own thing. But I think in Somalia the thing is it's thinner. Even though it's a similar kind of idea, it's a thinner thing. They eat it for like breakfast, and I mean, I want to try it one day. It looks delicious. But
say you love crepes. No,
no.
Say. No, I had some yesterday. Yeah, they're just like thin pancakes. They're like thin pancakes. Okay, we'll make a compromise. Just say you like thin pancakes. No, I'm an American.
American pancakes. Pancakes, I don't think are actually American. I thought they were made. I don't know if they were. Maybe they were made in America. I don't even think that. That's unlikely. It's hard to make things made, like a lot of food items made in America, because even if they're made in America, they're typically made by another culture. Because Americans aren't a race. We're not a race. Just like Brazil, we're not a race. So you can't act like there's an American race when everything is so like combined and there's a ton of different, like total different cultures like mixed together. I mean, especially after like like when you had like when the country first started, you would say mostly British, and then you would say the Irish that came, the Germans, and then of course we took there was a whole slavery thing. I mean, we all know about that, and that was pretty atrocious. But it did have a lot of Africans were brought to America, and they had their own culture, and their culture developed under slavery. Like barbecue was taking extremely undesired meats and then doing a transforming them into such a delicious food over long cooking. And I mean, we wouldn't have barbecue today, I mean, it's not like a worthy trade-off, but it's like the idea that was something that they developed their culture, even though they had their own culture going in, because of the atrocious times they developed a different culture. And I think, and I'm glad that we all share. I mean, not everybody likes barbecue, but for those that like barbecue, it's like, does it have to be excluded? Just because Texas brisket's a thing. I mean, like, can people outside of Texas cook brisket? No, again, but at what point is cultural? It's almost like, what is it? I mean, I don't think you can insulting another person's culture by taking in like a movie, like if you made a movie about like Chinese culture, but you didn't actually, and it's like set in China, but you had all the Chinese be like ching chong, like what's it called? There's a cartoon that did that, wasn't there? Oh no, Archer. Like they had a
Yeah.
I think I don't know.
Well,
if
you have to differentiate though between joking and being serious, and also satire. But in joking, because there's a lot of jokes that does that. I mean, look at South Park. Like,
yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I'm gonna see those new seasons, man. I gotta catch up.
Oh, I'm Japanese. I had a birthday.
I mean,
But part of what makes those jokes funny is that the person hearing the joke understands that they're wrong, understands that they're based on something taboo and that it shouldn't be there. But does that make sense?
yeah,
A
like
lot of
it's almost like you're not. It's like if you actually say like all black people are trash and you believe it, there's a difference between saying that and saying some kind of like joke about it. Like oh black people like fried chicken, like Dave Chappelle jokes about. That's
I didn't know fried chicken. Fried chicken was a black thing. I just like fried chicken.
I mean, I feel like we all. I mean, what is fried chicken? Fried chicken's like actually there's even Korean fried chicken. There's actually a difference between Korean fried chicken and Japanese fried chicken. It's like it's chicken, breading, salt, and love and buttermilk and all these other things that people and different things in different places, and it's like deliciousness. Like why does that? I feel like food's something that really does transcend cultural boundaries a lot more though, because people like if you enjoy food from other cultures, it's like you get to share. And I think a lot of chefs talk about that, how food's a great way to share your culture, and I mean I think it is.
You go into another country and you go into a person's house, they're gonna serve you food, and that's them showing you this is ours. And if let's say they come to your country, they're not gonna be like, oh, we don't want to eat that. It's like no, they're gonna eat that. In fact, there are people who go to other places and they eat that food that is available there in order to enjoy the culture, and they would never eat it at another time. Not necessarily, like they are willing to try something that doesn't I mean, I would think it's very hard to eat this, but Iceland, they have those rotten sharks, right? I don't know.
Like
I don't
cheese,
think, yeah,
like the maggot cheese.
I
I
don't know
think
if
it's illegal actually. The maggot cheese in America.
Why maggots?
No, I thought I read somewhere that the maggot cheese isn't allowed, but I don't know. Maybe that's not true. But
Yeah.
Check up on that.
So yeah, so in Iceland, I forgot what it's called, but in Iceland they catch these sharks and then they ferment them, and then they eat these fermented sharks that are hanging there for quite a while, and it's a whole process. And they smell bad, and I don't know how they taste. I guess they taste really bitter, and it's really hard to eat. It's an acquired taste, but like it's a thing to eat there. Like if you go to that part of Iceland, and you want to, enjoy the culture, that's what you do. Now, this is the thing I also want to get into with Isle of Dogs is that a lot of people like to focus like to think there's a whole entirety of the Japan or entirety of a place or culture or whatever that needs to be shown in a particular setting. This happened with National Geographic. Recently, they released their racist edition and try to show, oh, we were racist. We did a lot of racist things this whole time. A lot of it made sense. Like a lot of the comments that were made by the writers under pictures is like, wow.
Yeah.
But you got other things where it was like, it's hard to think that it was necessarily racist because it's like, oh, we showed this and that's the Western culture. It's like, yeah, but that exists in the other places. Imagine taking pictures of people taking a piss. It's like, yeah, we get it. The whole world does that. Why are we different? And at the same time, if you're in a particular place, it's like, oh, we need to show everything to make it correct. Not necessarily. Just like in Isle of Dogs. Do they have to show every aspect of Japanese culture in order to properly show Japan?
I mean, if somebody made a movie about America, would it be that much? Would it be offensive if they didn't show like New York? Did it have to be set in New York and L.A.? Can it be set in like some random town, Wichita, Kansas, or something like that? Sorry to those in Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita?
You're not random, okay? But it's like You're good. Good people. Good people.
Isolated places.
Good in the worst places in America. The worst.
You go 1 mile out of Wichita and you're fine. But Wichita,
I don't even believe Wichita, Kansas exists. No, okay. But yeah. So like, does it have to? If somebody showed a place in America, and I would like if they like showed some like a good amount. Like don't like set it into a city or something and then like butcher it and have people speak like some complete different language. Even though America doesn't have a federal language, it's state languages. I think Alaska has multiple.
Isn't English the federal language?
No, I don't think it. I think it's yeah. There's no like federal mandate language. I think every state has their, and usually English is a thing. Actually, I remember I saw this YouTube video, 2 YouTube videos I'm going to talk about right now. Okay. One was about a Mexican immigrant who came to America, and they worked at Italian restaurants, I think, for like 12 or so years. And they opened up their own restaurant in Detroit, and it serves both traditional Mexican food and Italian food. And I think that's amazing. I mean, like, he learned about a different culture, and he added it into his repertoire. He has the skills to cook it, and he pays and doesn't even mix the recipes. He has one dish, I think, that he mixes them, and it's all separate. And it's like he knows how to cook Italian food, he knows how to cook Mexican food, and he wants to serve people the food that he finds good. And another YouTube video I saw was there's a gas station. I think it's out Detroit again. I don't know.
Detroit.
I don't think it's Detroit actually, but they serve halal. They like award-winning halal burgers, and the halal meat is a special way. I think it's Islam how they prepare meat, kind of like kosher meat. Not like exactly the same. So they do that, and I like the idea of somebody taking an American staple of food and then adding in their special flair, and it's like that's what I like to see. I mean, can somebody bring some sheets from Brazil here? I mean, hurry up.
If you like that, and to any listener who also likes that, there's a great section in the book, The 4-Hour Chef by Tim Ferriss, where
call out.
Yeah. Hey, Tim Ferriss, call out. I love your books, by the way. I've read them all.
Okay.
Anyway,
sound like a fangirl.
So yeah, 4-Hour Chef, where he goes into how you can take staples or just any food and adding certain spices or preparing it in a slightly different way, and you can make it similar to other cultures. So he has scrambled eggs, and he's like, oh, I can make it the Turkish way, or I can make it I don't know what Somalian way. I don't think that was in it, but yeah, you can make it in all these different ways. But imagine, oh, that's cultural appropriation. Now you just don't, and now he's in trouble. Everybody's in trouble.
I feel like a lot of cultural appropriation seems to come on like white people who take other cultures. I think.
Yeah, we're not allowed to be aware.
I think it's weird because like
or self-aware.
I think it's a weird thing because people consider white people as such a small race. I think, even though I mean it's weird because they both think that we're like the majority in America. I mean, China has like 1.3 billion people. I mean, we're not like I don't know if we're even the majority in the world. I mean, we might be, but. There's so many different white countries. France and England never got along for the longest time. 100 years war back in the day. And not back in the day.
100 years war.
I mean, of course, it wasn't really 100 years of fighting, but it was 100 years of anger. So yeah, they had a lot of anger towards each other, and
it seems like there's a idea of conspiracy in a way. Like we've all come together to agree with the same thing.
Us white people work together.
And just to attack feminism for a second,
no, please.
I feel the same way in terms of the idea of feminism. It's like, at what point have men killed other men, a lot of other men throughout history? We're not all friends to each other, all agreeing on the same things and being nice to each other. It's not,
if you're the thing is like if you're in the Marxist perspective, and this is not like a communist toad, but I'm just saying, the idea that these ideas that men and like that the racism and ideas, all these conflicts that people have of others are actually created by the rich to keep the poor poor. Because if we're fighting amongst ourselves, I mean, you look back in the Civil War, people like act like it's some big, it's like,
very economically motivated.
Most of the people who fought the war from the South were not. They may have been racist, and I mean that's not like okay, but I'm just saying they weren't slave owners. Maybe they owned one slave. If they were like,
if they were slave owners,
if they were slave owners, most people didn't have plantations, so plantation owners were benefiting we're gonna benefit off these people who didn't even they actually probably believed more in states' rights, and maybe they also believed that black people should be held under. I mean, but they weren't believing of. But it's like the idea that they were like working together. All these people were trying to help the slavery. It's like these guys didn't own slaves. They were kind of getting forced into the situation. Ish. They wanted to, but they were convinced they wanted to by people who were way richer than them. And I mean, the idea that, you know, the Marxist perspective. I mean, the idea that people are actually forced these ideas of conflict, of racism and that the males being better than women, the whole idea that is made to keep people down. I mean, there are rich women in history. I mean, there's queens in history that had a ton of power, and it's like, but the majority gets held down. And I mean, history, you look at it, the poor people, many people were held down for long periods of time. It's not exactly been the best.
I don't know if necessarily it's an origin of where those things come from. I think it's perpetuated, if that's the right word, by rich people. They take a problem that they know poor people have and like keep pushing it in order to, you know, gain from it. It's just like, how do you say, a disaster happens. If there's blood on the streets, buy land. That's like a quote. And that's one thing you have to do. If a disaster is happening, go there and buy resources from there. They're going to be a lot cheaper. So rich people don't give a shit. Now imagine, right? You cause that to happen, and then you go in, and there's, you know, little pieces of history. You can even say, if we want to go into conspiracy theories, that America
rich people cause hurricanes,
killed people who were assassinated people who were protesting or going against the Vietnam War.
Well, they did kill people.
No, but I mean like the top influencers, MLK. I wonder if Malcolm X started to go against the Vietnam War. Also, when what's his face? Muhammad Ali,
yeah.
Right? They were going to either send him or send his ass to jail when he started talking. JFK, he wanted to pull out of Vietnam. Right? Okay. All these people.
Now, all of this that we're saying about, they're not, these aren't like, just for those who for those who think who are going to try to quote this isn't you don't quote this, okay? This is not like facts, okay? This is a lot more opinions and ideas and a lot of conspiracy theories. And there are a lot of rich people who do, but donating money, you know, it's kind of a weird thing. I mean, sometimes I feel like you go the extra mile. If you have the money, you know, if you're gonna donate to a company that's gonna, or to a foundation that's gonna build orphanages, why don't you pay a building company or start your
go to the source?
Like, if you know, Elon Musk has that, what's it called, the Boring Company that's building the tunnels. He didn't try to fund another company to build his thing. To build tunnels, super tunnels. He was like, you know what? I think we can do this better. And I would love if, like, you know, other companies started to do that. You know, you think there's a problem in the world, you don't always need the profit. You know, there's a water filtration company, actually, not a water filtration. There was a company, I think, that developed something that would help clean water in a fast way for Africa. Mm-hmm. And it's like they started a company. They have their own company, and they started this like other company that's non-profit, like an organization that they do that, right. And then they, you know, and people are like, oh, but then they are going to lose profits. But it's like, that gives them such good PR. It puts them in the right place. And maybe they do lose some profits. But, you know, if you care about other people for like a little bit, you know, you would hope that, you know, people who are extremely wealthy, and I'm not trying to say, oh, you know, you work harder, you gotta give more. You know, I'm saying, you know, if you're at the top, okay, and you never look down, then, you know, you're kind of a horrible human being.
That's fine, though. I'd be fine with that.
Fuck you. What is that?
We're all in the same game, damn it. One thing I want to go from there, though, is the idea of getting to the source. Because what if there's so much corruption in African countries, for example, in the political system, and when you have like rebel militias,
rebel scum,
you got ISIS running around.
You rebel scum.
That's terrible. Talk about rebels in Africa, damn it. When you have all these things, giving them a little bit of food, giving them a little bit of water, it doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't get to the source of the problem and change that.
Yeah,
Here's
like
the thing.
like the old quote, you know, like give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, but teach a man the fish, he'll eat forever.
Well, I think it's more of, make sure there's fish in that not river, lake. Make sure there's fish in that lake and it's not polluted. It's more like that.
Yeah.
Even if he can fish, he's not going to be able to fish because there's no fish there. So what about this? Instead of giving a bunch of money for food, pay for security for Nigerian politicians who are trying to, make it through the democratic process. I forgot. I think it was in Nigeria. I might be wrong. Maybe it was Somalia, where they went through a bunch of people really quickly. Although it could have been Mexico. Okay, but I think it was in an African country. They just it was just over and over and over again. Bunch of these people running for office killed. There's no security for them. So what kind of democratic process is that? Like imagine, we're trying to get these, Hillary or Trump trying to
both die.
And they just they both
Bernie
get killed.
Sanders.
And it's like, wow, well, we'll go over here. And you don't get a choice. So instead of put your money in providing everybody with food and water, even though that's important because if there's a basis, right? There's a basis of survival. If they're dead, they can't vote.
But what if you focus on getting the water filtration systems, focus on getting farms? Actually, there are a lot of foundations I think that are actually doing that, trying to build buildings, help build better build infrastructure. Infrastructure will help these countries, much more than, we give them some food and water. I mean, the food and water should stay. I mean, you gotta, for the transition process, it's not gonna be easy. I mean, you have to build infrastructure, and that takes years. I mean, it's not like a 5-day process, so you gotta do the work. But I feel like a lot less foundations are a lot of people don't focus on actually, build these things, build these countries up. And it also helps us in the end. I mean, you help a country build itself up rather than just help a country. It's like you have an alliance. I mean, you look at other countries that helped America build up as well. Mm-hmm. France didn't initially try to help us. They were fighting the British. Good little kick in the leg, but they helped us a lot in our history. And I would love if our relations were a little bit better right now, but And after World War II, when we did the whole, what is it called? The Russians called it the Marshmallow Plan, but it's something like the Soviets, at the time. But yeah, this is the plan, the Marshall Plan, I think is what it's called. Yeah, the Marshall Plan.
Rather,
the Marshmallow Plan.
Did they make fun of it by saying that?
Yeah, they made fun. Yeah, and then we invested a bunch, gave them a bunch of money, helped to bid the capitalists, and even though we did it to spite the Russians, what else? What are you gonna do?
Well, the problem is
gotta spite the Russians one time.
If they don't want your aid, it's like, well, too bad. Then you got, and then you got terrorists who were fed up with your bullshit, and it's not to say, ooh, terrorism is so great, but at some point, those people are just rebelling over the bullshit they've put through.
Yeah, I mean, we've gone a little bit off topic on the cultural appropriation.
Oh yeah,
we're not gonna get into the idea of fixing the Middle East. That'll probably be another topic for another day. That's a long topic to deal with. So yeah, so at the end of the day, I think cultural appropriation is wrong. I mean, what the definition? I think. No, from what it's described. Let me look it up.
So with the idea of it, Isle of Dogs doesn't have to show